Awesome. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Dan and Anne Marie, for having me. As was mentioned, my name is Michaela, and I'm a Girls Who Codes Outreach Manager. And I am so excited to get to speak to you all today. I'm so glad you were all able to join us. And again, before we get started, feel free, if you just signed on, to jump in and scan that QR code or to use the link that was provided in the chat. There will be a chance at the end of this program as well for you to sign in, and that'll get you a copy of the slide deck, which I hope will be a useful tool to you for a while after we wrap up here too. So just going to start with some basics. I hope folks who have access to the chat, we're going to hopefully use the chat a little bit over the course of the next 90 minutes, is just to toss in your name. If you work at a school, that would be great. If you work with certain grade levels, feel free to include that. And any coding experience you've had or not had. And I want to note and elevate, like, it is absolutely amazing you're in the right place if you've never had any coding experience before too. So feel free to shout that out. We really, really appreciate when folks come here and they're ready to learn and they're coming just brand new to computer science in general. Awesome. We have some Heidi, no coding experience. Welcome. No coding. Wow, this is an awesome group. Oh, you are all new to coding. And one of our big tenets at Girls Who Code is focusing on bravery and community. So thank you for being here and trying something new. Some coding experience. Welcome, welcome. Some coding experience. Very experienced in coding and computer science. Welcome, Scott. Glad to have an expert in the room as well. Lots of middle and high school. K to 6, Alyssa, wonderful. Glad you're representing some of our younger learners. This is fabulous. Please continue to keep those introductions coming. And then the next thing I'm going to ask folks to do is, just before we take a look at our agenda today, I'd love to see how familiar everyone is with Girls Who Code. You can type into the chat how familiar you are specifically with Girls Who Code. And one is if you've never heard of us before, so you're brand new to our organization and what we do and provide. Two is if you've heard of us, but you aren't super familiar with all of our programming. And three is that you're familiar with Girls Who Code and you might even be a club facilitator already with some of our programming. So feel free to pop those numbers into the chat, even if you can't introduce yourself. Getting lots of twos. That is so awesome. Oh, and we have some people who are meeting our organization for the first time. That is wonderful. Oh, awesome. We got lots of ones and twos. This is absolutely fabulous. Oh, three, but not a facilitator. So we have some Girls Who Code experts in the room. Diana, welcome. A major part of our sisterhood. Somebody who ran a club for a few years. This is just such a fabulous group. I'm so excited that I'm getting to meet some familiar faces and also to welcome some of you into our programming for the very first time. This is awesome. So now I'm just going to start by chatting through our agenda for today. We'll begin our time together by talking about Girls Who Code's purpose and our larger mission to close the gender gap in tech and provide all students, regardless of gender identity, the opportunity to change the world with code. And then we'll talk a little bit about how Girls Who Code programmings operate and run individually. Then we'll dive into that main topic for today, why we're all here as part of the series. We're going to focus on AI and representation, as well as the structures of Girls Who Code Club's programming to support education on a variety of topics, but especially AI as well, and far beyond that too. And after that, I'll provide some step-by-step instructions on how to access all of these free resources in advance of the fall semester. We'll have a little bit of time to chat of any questions that you might have about anything we talk about today. You're welcome to continue to sit in for that FAQ section, or just rather that Q&A section, my apologies. And your colleagues may also have some great questions that are useful for you to hear the answer to as well. So I definitely recommend you stay to the end. And then we'll wrap up and I'll provide some links and emails that you can use at any time in the future, well beyond just this presentation, for any more information or support. But without further ado, let's dive in. So now we're going to jump in with the very, very basics. Let's just take a quick look at what coding really is. To put it simply, coding is writing commands to instruct a computer to do something in a programming language that it can understand. You're just learning to speak the computer's language. And we believe that coding is a great way to teach students a lot of different valuable life skills. It's an endless process of trial and error to try to get the right code in the right place at the right moment, and it requires a lot of resilience and imperfection. And as students tinker with these challenges, they learn that it's okay to make mistakes and to embrace them as learning opportunities, which helps them remain brave and resilient in the future. And computer science skills are extremely high in demand for employers today as well. There are over 500,000 open computing jobs right now that are waiting to be filled, but only give or take 80,000 computer science graduates in the United States every year. These jobs will only continue to grow in the future, so this will be an important factor when students begin considering their careers. Plus, right now, computer science jobs offer an average of $100,000 as a salary annually. And this means that CS can provide really transformative socioeconomic pathways for students who pursue fields that include it. And these skills developed when learning to code are really flexible as well. So, computer science isn't just for folks working in traditional big tech companies at all. Definitely want to dispel that misconception here. 67% of computing jobs are in non tech industries. So, thinking fashion, arts, entertainment, medicine, and just so much more. And not to mention, building apps, websites, and programs can serve as a powerful tool to combine different passions as well. And these jobs tend to offer more flexibility in where you work too. They can be found anywhere across the country or world, and of course, many of them are remote too. Yet, even with these exciting opportunities, not everybody's being included. Hundreds of thousands of CS tech jobs are currently open, like I mentioned, and similar roles are going to continue to grow. But today, only 24% of tech employees are women, compared to 37% in 1995, if you can believe it. And that number is actually predicted to decline to 22% in 2025 next year. Right now, only 19% of students who receive CS degrees are women, and only 2% receiving these computing degrees are women of color. And when we think about building products and programs that we all consume, we need to make sure that more voices are heard to make these innovations the best they can be and represent everybody who's using them and building them. And when we leave women out of these economic opportunities, we miss out on the talents, innovation, and diverse thought of half the population. We need innovative, hardworking, and resilient girls, young women, and non binary students who would like to join the movement to close the gender gap. And we know that they're interested and excited. And that's where Girls Who Code comes in. We're tackling issues impacting the gender gap, representation, workforce development, and opportunity for historically underrepresented groups in tech all across the country and the world. We do this by providing free computer science programs that inspire, educate, and equip young women and non binary individuals with the skills they need to pursue 21st century opportunities. And we're also preparing their communities and educators to teach them using inclusive and collaborative tools, programs, and curricula. Our vision is to build a pipeline of technologists, and we want to send more young women and non binary individuals into the tech workforce, achieving gender parity in entry level tech jobs by 2030. This is a very ambitious goal, but with your help, we are on track and can achieve it. And the possibilities of how we use technology are truly endless. As I mentioned earlier, two-thirds of computing jobs are in non-traditional tech fields, so medicine, entertainment, education, business, and just so much more. And at Girls Who Code, we challenge you to use technology to get creative and to dream really big. And you can see some of the unique ways we've used technology here, from creating a visual album for International Day of the Girl, the Girls Who Code Girls campaign, where folks can create their very own video game character that reflects their image, personality, and abilities, and our more recent collaboration with Doja Cat to build the world's first codable music video. And since launching in 2012, Girls Who Code has served over 500,000 young people through our in-person and virtual programming. And out of the 580,000 individuals we've served thus far, we have welcomed 530,000 learners into our free clubs program, which introduces 3rd to 12th graders to our pipeline of programs and provides free curricula to educators and facilitators all over the country. And more than building skills and interests, we work to position our alums to secure technical jobs early in their careers. Our workforce development programs have supported over 6,000 participants in critical career defining phases, with opportunities like our hiring summits putting our skilled alums directly in front of interested hiring partners. Our alum work in tech at 7 times the national average, and they are going everywhere, as you can see. Here's a sample of some of the places our alum have gone on to work, and this barely scratches the surface of their many accomplishments, workplaces, and the impact on the industry. We are amazed at their incredible work. And it really all begins with clubs. Clubs members receive priority consideration for placement in all of our programming, and it provides a bedrock foundation for a ton of different coding concepts. So on that note, I'm excited to share a little bit more information about clubs and how you can get started to access all of the technical and AI related programming we're going to focus on in the meat of our discussions and our program presentation. Girls Who Code clubs are free programs for 3rd to 12th graders of all genders and skill levels and can be used in diverse nonprofit settings like schools, libraries, community centers, and other nonprofits. It is designed by our expert educators, and clubs prepare young learners through project-based activities and complementary resources to all educators. This can be on AI, this can be on cybersecurity, website and app development, and so many other topics. The ideas are just endless regarding this. And we believe that all girls and gender nonconforming young people can change the world through code, and we aim to serve them all, especially those who are underrepresented in computer science. And I want to note that members of all genders are welcome in clubs. Some folks even like to call our programming just Kids Who Code or Coding Club. That is all welcome and encouraged in order for our programming to be as inclusive as possible, depending on the environment you're using these programs in. That is fully welcome. So putting that out there too. And of course, it's one thing for me to tell you about the impact of our club's programming, and it's another to hear directly from program participants. These students are club participants who joined us in the last year to talk about their experiences with the program. So I will let them take it away so you can hear what they have to say about our programming.
Participating in Girls Who Code has helped me take away like the fear of like computer science and from like this like abstract concept to actually something that's easy to do, and or not easy every time, but something that's like feasible and like a step-by-step process. Yes.
I think having that like more relaxed environment where people can just like gather and like work on what they want to work on and just talk with each other in the process really creates like a really conducive environment for learning.
Yeah, I think the club built a really strong community in our school, and like everyone in the club hangs out with each other outside of school, and we help each other with assignments, not even for computer science. Sometimes it's for like other subjects as well. So.
Being in a club that is just only all girls who all want to work on the same projects or just pursue the same computer science, it just makes me feel more motivated to want to pursue computer science in the future.
So those are just some amazing examples of our club students. They are really incredible, and we have such a strong sisterhood of so many of them. And we hope that you have some students who might be excited to jump in too. But in addition to classroom agreements and lots of different tools for you to build that kind of leadership and community, I also recommend that you create leadership opportunities to help your students feel even more engaged and included in our programming and build essential leadership skills and responsibility. And we outline 5 optional roles that you see here. We have the technology officer who assists the facilitator with routine maintenance of computers, tablets, phones, and other devices necessary for implementation of our curriculum. There is the coding coach who supports the facilitator with implementation of coding activities provided in the curriculum and offers assistance to beginner level club members. We have the social media chair, which is often known colloquially as the hype person, and they help the facilitator with regular documentation, photos, and maintaining a blog, vlog, or other digital hub to showcase club activities. There's the project lead who assists the facilitator with timely completion of cumulative projects during the club cycle to support meeting deadlines, submitting the project to the project gallery, and many other club goals that you can decide for yourself. And finally, we have the supplies monitor who helps the facilitator with keeping track of the club's practical needs like working devices, school supplies, and the ever important snacks. So you can find what works best for your students and make space for them to grow in leadership. And we also recommend for folks to switch roles throughout the year and give all students opportunities to grow their leadership skills in a variety of areas and ensure visibility and representation with all students. And we are endlessly proud of our club students and are always inspired by their projects and how they use code to change the world. And we know that leadership opportunities help students to feel even more engaged and included and build essential life skills and responsibility. It's especially exciting to see students strive to lead and facilitate Girls Who Code clubs with support from a teacher, and they can act in an advising capacity while students mostly lead and facilitate clubs as well. So if you have some ambitious high schoolers or older middle schoolers, this is a really great option for them as well to build those skills and that resume. So now we'll get to hear from Hitha, Niska, Shreya, and Sadhana to learn a little bit about their experience taking on a leading role in making their club's meetings happen.
Hi, everyone. We're Girls Who Code Club from Folsom High School, California, and we are the student leaders of our club. I'm Hitha.
My name is Nishka.
My name is Shreya.
And my name is Sadhana.
And today we wanted to talk to you guys about our experience with the Girls Who Code Club and how we developed as leaders ourselves by starting this club.
Just a little bit of our accomplishments. So far, we've fundraised around $2,000, some of which has been donated to the National Brain Tumor Society. Along with that, what we did was we tutored children HTML and CSS, Scratch, and Python, all for beginners and intermediate levels. Out of this, we learned how to organize, management skills, and leadership skills, and also just had fun teaching kids.
We were first motivated to become student leaders of our club because over quarantine, we realized that we all loved coding, and we wanted to use those skills and promote that in kids around our community. That's why we created our summer program. And then we also found Girls Who Code, who had the same sort of mission statement as what we thought of. And so we wanted to use them as a great way to promote our own ideas and inspire the next generation of females in STEM.
My main motivation to join this club was to close the gender gap and empower women and encourage them to participate in STEM and other fields which are largely male-dominated even now. This was also a channel for me to apply the knowledge that I've gained over the years through schooling and build a active change in community.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our experience with Girls Who Code. In total, we can say that we developed our leadership skills as organizers and as mentors and increased our confidence greatly. We contributed to our communities and we contributed to our knowledge ourselves. Thank you so much for listening.
Girls
Who
Code. Thank
Bye.
you.
They are wonderful, and they are just such a wonderful sampling of all of the students that we get to work with in these leadership positions. And we're just so thrilled by them. That is one of my favorite video testimonials that we have. And to cater to the unique needs and styles of students in different age groups, we have 2 different sets of club programs that you can get for free. We have 3rd to 5th grade clubs and 6th to 12th grade clubs. 3rd to 5th grade programming follows a book club model and teaches beginner level concepts with the option of completing unplugged or online challenges in Scratch after reading chapters in our nonfiction and fiction books. And they are completely free to access. It is all on HQ. And meanwhile, our 6th to 12th grade program teaches computer science concepts of all difficulty levels through flexible plug-and-play curriculum and self-guided tutorials. While typical clubs will often meet for 1 to 2 hours for 10 or more sessions during any time of the year, clubs can also be fully structured to fit your schedule. It is totally a la carte. You can pick what sections and what pieces of our club make sense for what you are already doing and put them in. It still counts as a club. You can run them after school, like a traditional after school club, or you can run them like a lunch club. You can also run them like a program that you would want to put right into the classroom as well. We are CSTA standards-based, and that is totally great too. And the main focus for 3rd to 5th grade clubs is developing bravery and confidence in computer science skills. Each 3rd to 5th grade club meeting consists of 3 main parts. An optional community building sisterhood activity starts the meeting. Then club members dive into guided lesson plans centered on Girls Who Code books. We have Learn to Code to Change the World and the Friendship Code. We also have optional online coding challenges in Scratch to complement any offline reading-based activities. And each meeting ends with a wrap-up, which is an opportunity for reflection and feedback to nurture that growth mindset. Our 6th to 12th grade curriculum is structured similarly, starting with a welcome and sisterhood activity and ending with a wrap-up. Key differences include our Girls Who Code tech spotlights and Learn to Code activities. Girls Who Code tech spotlights on diverse tech innovators to change the image of what a programmer looks like and does for young learners. Club members explore real-life examples of computer scientists who are using their CS skills in a variety of fields. And 6th to 12th grade club members work through Learn to Code activities to hone their coding skills in programming languages, including HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, and Swift from Apple. Our Learn to Code activities include videos and text-based instructions to guide members to explore game design, web development, creative coding, cybersecurity, data science, and of course, what our main discussion for today will be, which is AI. They offer a range of difficulty levels for beginners to more advanced learners. Club members can choose their learning pathway individually or as a group based on programming language, project theme, or skill level. Plus, we offer 6th to 12th grade scope and sequence guidance that describes what skills and content to teach and the recommended order to teach them. And for educators specifically, our club member activities all meet CSTA K-12 computer science standards, so you can put this right into the classroom as much or as little as you see fit based on the content that you're already working with. And each approved club is also assigned a dedicated Girls Who Code staff member who is familiar with the entire process of starting and running Girls Who Code clubs. From basic club logistic questions to tips for delivering the curriculum, guiding the classroom, and recruiting students, no question is too big or too small. They're amazing, and they're here to ensure that your club is successful however you decide to run it. Our specialist for Massachusetts is Laura. So when you start a club, Laura will reach out and introduce herself to you or whoever is facilitating your club before it even launches. And facilitators can always find her as their specialist in the contact info on our platform, which is totally available to you at any time. So now I'm just going to do a very quick overview of our facilitator resources as well. First off is the facilitator toolkit, and this serves as the home base for everything that you would need. This toolkit will support facilitators in preparing, running, and wrapping up clubs or whatever program content they want each year. It provides access to checklists, training videos, newsletters, and prep guides for that club. Club members cannot see the materials in the facilitator toolkit, which makes it just the place for facilitators to plan and prepare. It is your sandbox, and you can use as much or as little of this programming as you see fit. All other curriculum materials on HQ are within the curriculum page and are visible to club members and facilitators alike. The other resources we want to highlight is the Plan Your Club Meeting Guide. And this page has all the materials needed to create a game plan for club meetings. For each session, we've included a list of goals, a sample agenda, a facilitator to-do list, and a slide deck template that facilitators can copy or download. There's also guidance on how to customize each session, so whether that club has less than an hour to meet or is planning to meet for much, much longer, like a boot camp that runs all day or all week, facilitators can make adjustments to fit their needs. We have hundreds of hours of content. You will not be disappointed with how much you can fill. And the last resource I want to highlight for facilitators specifically is our scope and sequence documents. These are helpful documents that describe what skills and content facilitators may teach and is the recommended order to teach them in as well. We provided a scope and sequence for 2 common club formats that you can use to develop a high-level plan for your club, but again, your clubs are your own and you can decide exactly which pieces of our programming make sense within the curriculum you're already using or the program you are already providing students. And the formats that we have are standard and bootcamp formats for anybody who is doing some long-form computer science programming. Our scope and sequence documents include meeting goals, CSTA standards, and recommended agendas and activities for club meetings and their grade levels. And facilitators have the option to make a copy or to download the scope and sequence documents so they can reference it when they're planning their club meetings, and also just to write it out and to decide what pieces of it they want to use. So now, before we dive into the full content of today's training, I want to take a moment to participate in an AI-themed sisterhood activity to get everybody up to speed on some of the foundational aspects of AI. Remember, you can also lead an activity like this with your club members. This is just one sample of how you can introduce some of these concepts to your students in a variety of ways. First off, let's get some definitions just out in the open for all of us to use. AI is changing a lot of things about computers and the internet, from how we receive information to how we interpret events around the world. We know that this is incredibly important now with the emergence of AI tools that we know are going to disproportionately impact women, non-binary people, folks of colors, and other intersecting identities across race, class, ethnicity, and gender, especially in the workplace and in schools. And we need to make sure that our students know about AI tools so they can use them critically, and so they're prepared for jobs in the future that are AI related. To give us a common definition and understanding of what artificial intelligence is, we will start with that bedrock definition. Artificial intelligence, or AI for short, is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as self-driving cars, image recognition, and translating languages. As we saw reflected in some of those responses, we often term AI, and we start to think of AI tools that have become so prevalent in so many of the tools we use, for example. So you can see just some of these different options here on the screen. Facial recognition technology, probably a lot of folks have that on their phones and use it daily. Self-driving cars have definitely entered the news a bit. Recommendations from Netflix are another great option, or any other streaming service you're using. And of course, Siri and autocorrect. Autocorrect is a very early form of artificial intelligence too. And AI is changing a lot of things that we do on computers and the internet, from how we receive information and how we interpret different things that are happening within the news or mainstream media. And we know how important it is for us to just make sure that all of those tools are future-proof for our students, so they can understand where this information is coming from, how it affects them, and how we're able to protect them, and how they're able to protect themselves from a lot of these different tools, and to understand where they're impacting them. And AI has permeated all kinds of industries as well, not just in popular culture either. These are some ways we engage with art on a daily basis. Some examples above show the influence of AI in movies, visual art, and music programming even. Sometimes it can be interesting to consider what media is influenced by AI already that we're consuming, which leads us to the sisterhood activity. Our sisterhood activity is called Odd One Out. And in this activity, we'll explore AI-generated media by playing a guessing game. Your goal is to guess which image was created using AI. What I will ask is that everybody focuses on using the chat. You'll be provided with numbered resources to select which image out of a group of 4 that you think is AI related. So the next couple of slides, 4 images will be displayed, and 1 image is AI generated. Drop into the chat 1, 2, 3, or 4 of which image you think is AI generated. Then we'll reveal which one it actually is, and you'll see if your guess was correct. All right, we're started with round 1. Drop into the chat which image 1, 2, 3, or 4 do you think was generated with AI. I'll give everybody a second to decide and a second to choose. Lots of answers coming in. All right, I'm seeing a lot of 4. Interesting. I'm seeing some 2s, couple 1s, couple 3s, lots of 4s. Awesome. So the answer is number 1. That is the AI generated image of the bee. All right, round 2. Drop into the chat which image 1, 2, 3, or 4 you think is generated with AI. Seeing some 1s and 2s, couple 3s, lots of 2s. All right, I'm getting a pretty fair mix. All right, the AI generated image is cowboy number 4. All right, now we're up to round 3. Drop that number into the chat, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Awesome. I'm seeing a wide range of numbers for this one. I'm seeing 2s, 3s, 1s, 4s, just about everything in the mix. All right, let's see which one it is. It is number 4. All right, round 4. Drop into the chat 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which image do you think was created via AI here? Unbelievable detail. I agree. It is amazing what this technology can do. Again, a healthy mix here. We're seeing 3s, some 2s, lots of 3s and 2s. I'm seeing a few 4s coming in. Yeah, I'm not seeing any one of them come out resoundingly on top. So let's see which one it is. In this case, it was number 3. That is the AI generated image of the crest. So that was super fun. So let's wrap this activity by joining together in reflection first. So how did you decide which image was created using AI? What patterns did you see? And many careers are starting to use AI to generate content, like I mentioned before. For example, those game developers using AI to generate realistic and immersive graphics. That's a great example. What are benefits of AI created media? And do you see issues that are specific to AI created media? I'm going to give everybody 60 seconds to think about it. You can pick one question or you can answer both. But I would love to hear what this makes people think about when they see all the ways that AI can create something that seems very often quite real to a lot of us, or quite unique to a lot of us. Awesome. Yeah, time saved when creating them. That is a huge benefit of AI, especially in the arts. All the pictures seemed reasonable. Wow, so they all blended in. That's a great answer. Copyright issues. Yes, we believe in paying and supporting creators and artists and value the unique contributions that humans can make. We also believe that we have to empower and equip students with different opportunities to build that literacy and comfort with AI tools and technology so they can become designers and policymakers and informed users of that kind of tech. But that is definitely a concern to think about. Wonderful. Again, hearing a lot of saving time. It can bend your perception of reality. Yeah, some things look real, some things don't look real, and it's not always immediately discernible. These are great. Thank you, Kristen. Yep, more copyright issues, plagiarism. That is definitely something that educators are likely thinking about. Some folks just guessed. Symmetry, being a useful tool to hopefully find some AI content. These are awesome. Some folks got everything wrong. That is okay. It is definitely hard to spot. Wonderful. This was such a great discussion. Thank you all so much for participating in our game slash thought experiment and being really thoughtful about what we can learn just from thinking about how AI can infiltrate a lot of different subjects, including the images that we see everywhere. So let's keep representation and data in mind as we dive into some AI specifics. And so now we're going to zoom in specifically on a kind of AI that is abbreviated as LLM, which is a large language model. Large language models, or LLMs for short, are a specialized type of artificial intelligence algorithm that has been trained on vast amounts of text to understand existing content and to generate original content. A fairly recent example of LLMs, which some of you might be familiar with either personally or through some of the students or colleagues you work with, is ChatGPT. That is an LLM. And you'll notice in this image, you can ask an LLM a question and ChatGPT can output a response directly to you. You can talk to an LLM like it's another human in most circumstances. And actually, this is another moment I'd love for folks to jump into the chat. What might you have already heard about AI and large language models in particular, either in your classrooms, out of your classrooms? Are you hearing things from colleagues or students or the media? What are some current topics of conversation? Diana, when and why to use AI resources? That is awesome. That is going to be something we talk a lot about today. For students, you still want to know what they know. That is so crucial, and to understand their perspectives, what information they're getting, and who they're getting it from. Ooh, Alyssa, students will lose critical thinking skills. That is an important thing to think about when we know that students are going to access LLMs. How to use it without it being considered cheating. That's another thought that you probably all have to consider when you're thinking about if ChatGPT belongs anywhere near assignments or the classroom. How do you know if a student used an AI program? That is a great question as well. How and when you should use it? Yeah, it's a lot of time and place. Liz, you're touching on something we're also about to chat about. Students' work not being original. That's really important too. Bias. These are amazing. I am so glad that you're all thinking about this so comprehensively. I know that not everybody here is a computer scientist or a CS expert by any means, but these are exactly the thoughts that I think a lot of educators are having, and they're really, really thoughtful. A lot of it is about where it's appropriate, how to make sure that students are creating authentic work, and just all of those excellent details that come with any new technology tool. So just hugely grateful for all of the thoughtful analysis that's already been done about a very new tool that is entering our lives. So now that we have a bit of a bedrock understanding of how LLMs work from a user perspective, we can highlight some of the things that AI and LLMs specifically are good at. LLMs can support answering questions people have. Rather than scrolling the web for answers, they can provide you a specific answer to your specific question. They can also create content and help you brainstorm as you complete different tasks in your daily life. And LLMs can provide you something to have a conversation with or offer advice. They're also pretty good at language translation as well. And we'll explore, they're not perfect at any of these, so we'll do some experiments on that as well. They're a huge asset when it comes to saving people research research time and using technology to optimize certain projects. So now we're going to become an LLM. So everybody pull your chat up again. First, an LLM needs to acquire a data set. And this text might be found on the internet, surveys, websites that someone visited. And in order to model this, we're going to acquire a data set altogether. So we're going to gather some data right now. Everybody complete this sentence and drop it in the chat. The best music artist is, and fill in the blank with your own answer. Chris Stapleton, Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift, Shakira, Led Zeppelin, Prince, Kenny Chesney. This is great. Keep them coming. Let's build our list. Stevie Wonder, Bach. Awesome. This is perfect. Bartok. Wow, these are great answers, all different eras. We'll give it another minute. This was awesome. Thank you all so much for helping to build this model. So now we're going to move on to step 2. We're now going to train our model on the data that we received. Admittedly, because the answers are still coming and I'm not able to acquire a perfect data set myself while we're in our presentation, there's a sampling of some common answers from a different community survey from a different presentation I did. And if we're able to put all of your answers in a data set, it might look kind of sort of something like this with some different artists that are probably a little bit more prominent than others. And if based on this slide, what do you notice about the answers here in the current data set? Can you keep that pattern in mind? And finally, step 3 is to use the model to create the output, where that pattern comes into play. And when we look at this example data that I have all cached right here, we notice that the way most people finish this sentence, the word that follows the best music artist is Beyonce. This is a simplified example because it was easy for us as humans to spot the pattern. You might have already spotted a pattern in the chat too. That's another place to find these kinds of patterns. But we'd probably struggle with larger amounts of data. Many of these LLMs use all of the data they can acquire online. So that means the power of large language models is related to the first word, large. They can process lots of data and much faster than human beings can. To give an example, ChatGPT was trained on 570 gigabytes of data, and that is the equivalent of 500 billion words or 100,000 average size books. It is consuming a lot of data and processing it. So now that we understand a little bit of how large language models work, it's really easy to grasp what AI is also not so good at. So just because large language models produce an output based on data, that does not mean they will always output the correct information. Here are some limitations of LLMs. The first limitation of large language models often use probability to determine output and to generate it as well. Large language models might not always give the same response to the same question on any given day or week, and sometimes asking large language models the same question twice could give you totally different answers both times. Another limitation of large language models is that they sometimes can predict or even guess an answer, even if they don't know it. We call this hallucinating, believe it or not. And this large language model will try to pick the answer it thinks is right, but it might not always pick the right one. And the third limitation is that large language models are biased. In our previous example, we collected data that was based on people in this workshop's music preferences. How might that be biased? How might it not be representative of a larger population? And one example is that this was collected from folks mostly based in Massachusetts, and that might produce a different response from teachers who are teaching in a different state, or even a different city to city within the same state. A model is only as good as the data it trains on. And as you can imagine here, AI might answer the question, what are the characteristics critical for becoming president of the US, very differently from what actual humans might say, or what is actually part of the criteria for becoming president. But we can also convey to young people how students can use AI for good today. We know that students need to engage on these challenging topics so they don't replicate problems of the past. One example of how we're doing this is to frame AI as an opportunity to build new tools and methods for tackling problems. And here you can see we launched our AI for Financial Good Challenge last winter, where we challenged students to create projects on how AI can be used to help people with their finances, for example. The Girls Who Code Challenge invited our community of students, club members, and individuals to explore real-world applications of technology, offering a powerful way to drive club engagement and to ignite curiosity with individual students too. And by working together towards a common goal, participants felt a sense of belonging and camaraderie, and they built bravery, pride, and confidence when they got to submit a project to this challenge. And our staff and corporate partner volunteers got to judge submissions and award prizes for top entries. This year, we got to challenge them in all different ways about how you could create AI for good to help people with financial needs. So whether it was an AI assistant for financial advice, an educational resource for promoting financial literacy, or an app that helps users save through smart buying suggestions, the possibilities were really limitless, and we got such a wide range. And because of some thoughtful approach and design, folks got to win $500 gift cards, swag, newsletter spotlights, and just all different things to drive some engagement and creativity and a slightly better understanding of how AI can be used in ways that benefit people and are harmless. This is just an example of what we got to do. We intend to provide many, many more opportunities for engaging with AI in responsible ways and building tools that are useful to people. And students can use AI to gain experience in creative avenues, to learn new information, to be inspired, and even to just have fun. And one example of this is our creation of Girl Jams, where students can use AI to create music and songs. And this year, we've amplified our commitment to innovation and staying at the forefront of technology by introducing exciting options currently our curriculum with a focus on artificial intelligence as a whole. And in response to that ever-evolving landscape of technology, we have new curriculum additions to emphasize hands-on learning experiences, allowing participants to explore cutting-edge AI concepts and application. And through these innovative projects, students will gain insight into machine learning, deep learning, data science, and computer vision, among other AI domains. We want to give them a wide breadth of what is going on in the world, especially of tech. At this time, we have Shape Sorter, Swift virtual assistant apps, and AI art competitions that are already in circulation, with more coming for this fall. And this year, we are launching all of these new short form coding activities, and there'll be about 45 to 30-minute lessons with topics that include all of those different AI functions, as well as cybersecurity, web development, and digital design. So we are going to cover a lot of topics. You can start from the ground up with your students on each one of them, just like we started here to talk a little bit about AI as a whole and also what large language models are. So now we're getting to the end of the workshop section specifically. So I want to take some time for everybody to reflect. We'll take about 5 to 10 minutes. Feel free to write your thoughts, write some questions specifically about AI and this workshop. I will do my best to answer them, particularly if through the lens of what we're able to provide you and some of those bedrock basics we got to talk about. This is a great question, Diane. Do we get pushback in schools related to girls only clubs? The answer is no, because our clubs do not have to be girls only. It is totally at the discretion of the educator in the context that that educator is using our programming in. So if you are in a place where you want to have an all girls club and that is something that makes sense based on the community you're serving, we love that. We support that tremendously. We have lots of other programming that is out of school time for high schoolers as well over the summer, which will open up in the fall. That's something we run in-house, and that is just for girls and non-binary students that we run. So even if you aren't able to create a girls only space within your clubs, we can have all of your high school students who are girls or non-binary join us over the course of the summer too. So we have lots of different ways of creating girls spaces. And if you have boys, they tend to do wonderfully. They wear the t-shirts with just as much pride. We provide a lot of benefits that I will touch on towards the end of this presentation as well. So wonderful question though, but feel free to do what makes sense for your community and what you feel as though will attract the most students in the right context that you're looking for. But that's a great question. What would be a good example of how to incorporate AI in a language classroom, considering that students are developing basic communication skills? If it is a foreign language classroom, it can be really nice to compare how AI suggests you translate a sentence versus how a student might translate a sentence. And I would probably recommend, as I'm not a current educator myself, to have students write out a sentence in translation and then see what AI says, and then compare and contrast. Are they getting the same answer? And is it worth it for them to use AI for translation? In some cases, it may be, and then in some, it may not. How do you start a club, Rosaline? That is a wonderful question. Do not worry, we will actually walk you through the steps on how to apply here and now. All of our programming is 100% free, but you can access all of those different pedagogical sections, all of our curriculum, all of our programming at no cost whatsoever. And I'll show everybody how to get access to it on our platform right after we wrap up with some reflections. If your community has a club at a library, you can start one at a school. Absolutely. That is a wonderful way to begin and to make sure that students are able to access this kind of programming either at school or at the library, depending on where they are. Students today are so fortunate to have the answers to so many questions through AI. Definitely, it is an amazing tool when it is used properly and can provide a lot of good answers in certain contexts. The other piece of the puzzle, of course, is to make sure that they're verifying their information and they understand that these kinds of models do not always spit out perfect information. Sometimes they guess, like we mentioned, sometimes they hallucinate. That can be a great thing to let them know, is that AI is as fallible as people and the information that's available written by people are. How do we moderate and support clubs and our role as support staff? There are many, many ways you can do that. That is a great question. You can decide to facilitate yourself. You can support other folks to volunteer and facilitate with you, or high school students. Ooh, Dan, yes, I want to highlight this especially for everybody asking about ideas for use in the classroom. Come to the next two workshops. You are hosting a really wonderful trio of workshops with us. So you're going to dive deep into classroom use especially. So this will hopefully be just a nice, straightforward introduction to some of the concepts related to AI. And then there will be much, much more. And we also provide some pretty deep detail with our own curriculum that you can access on your own time as you see fit within your own classrooms or after school. And I'll talk a little bit about how to get there too. Oh, and I'm so glad that this was reinforcing some of the information you've already been able to see. Sometimes it's really nice to break things down into their basic concepts and then dig a little bit deeper over time. So hopefully this will be just one segment of a lot of the wonderful things that you're going to use. Are students provided with offsite technology over summer months? I'm actually going to talk about some different opportunities for folks to access different benefits through our clubs as well. So this is great. Oh, this is a great question. Girls Who Code does have coding online that you can use. We call it Code at Home. It is for all age groups. It is not age restricted. It's on our website. So if you want to learn a little bit about coding there, you are welcome to use those activities. Awesome. I'm so glad, Dan, you already answered perfectly. Is there a reliable way to cite AI for projects? This is how you would do it. There is a wonderful guide. Do we have to have coding experience ourselves to facilitate a club? You need zero experience, Catherine. We hope that we provide all of those tools for you. And what's a good ratio to student size for a program? For our programming specifically, there will be lots of different programs that I'm doubtless will be showcased over this series in a lot of different places. We typically recommend a minimum of 3 students is how a club is technically formed through our platform, but you can go all the way up to probably an upper limit of 30, though we have no theoretical upper limit, but we do typically recommend by the time you hit between 15 and 30, it can be nice to split it up into 2 clubs. Oh, Jet, what programming do we have? Python, HTML, we have C++, we have JavaScript, we have Swift from Apple, we have Scratch, which is a really great basic language for early learners or for folks who are approaching CS for the first time. And we have all of them. They're all included on our platform. This was absolutely awesome. Thank you all so much for just thoughtful reflections, questions. And now I'm actually just going to jump into kind of the nuts and bolts, and we'll have a little bit more time for questions as well. So for folks who otherwise might want to come off mute towards the end of this presentation, you are welcome to do so after I just give a quick walkthrough of how to access some other resources that we provide, how to access everything that you saw here, as well as the many, many other elements of our programming too. So I know we chatted a little bit about this already, so I will move straight through and now just taking a little bit of time about how to get started. So I want to note that in addition to our free curriculum and resources, Girls Who Code also provides funding and swag to eligible clubs. This past year during the fall semester, we were thrilled to offer our Clubs Fund and swag benefits to all clubs with 3 or more members. That's why I mentioned that being the minimum. I want everybody to hopefully meet that. We typically have a deadline for applying for this sometime in the winter, so make sure you apply for the fall semester if you can. And if you're interested in taking advantage of this, you'll want to sign up, and then you'll be able to receive $300. It is automatic for every single club with 3 or more members. You can purchase supplies through an Amazon wish list we'll send you. So that can be snacks, it can be Spheros, Arduino kits, other forms of tech. It is whatever gets your kids excited, and it provides just extra financing to enhance that experience and success of your club. And that's $300 for every single club that is started. So if you are running a club for one grade and then also another club for another grade, that is 2 clubs, and they both receive individual clubs fund that you can also decide to combine and buy some larger ticket items that you can share between them. It's at your discretion as a facilitator, and we'll support you and walk you through those steps. Eligible clubs also receive t-shirts, stickers, and notebooks for members. We hope to create a community where folks feel really supported. So those are just some ways that we do it. And a similar opportunity that we did last fall, like Clubs Fund, like I mentioned, it will be returning at $300 for all new clubs and $500 for returning clubs to hopefully support you with what might be larger numbers now that people know a little bit about your club and that it's off the ground. And that will be returning in the next month or so. So keep an eye out for it. It'll be available to everybody. And they're designed so that anybody can start a club. That was a great question. Absolutely no computer science experience is necessary for you or your students. And all you need to start a club is a nonprofit host site, technology and internet, and a facilitator. So now I'm going to just go into these a little bit further to clarify. That host site can be any nonprofit, so a school, a library, or a community center, and clubs offer the flexibility as well to meet in person or virtually through Google Classroom, Zoom, or any other virtual conferencing platform that works well for you. Technology and internet connection are required for 6th to 12th grade club members, but they're optional for 3rd to 5th grade clubs. So you can go totally analog for younger students. And our program is compatible with PCs, Macs, and Chromebooks. And iPads are an option, but they can only be used through our beginner self-guided tutorials in the coding language Swift. So if you're using iPads, just keep it in mind that some of your projects might be limited to that specific language. And finally, every club needs a facilitator to submit the club's application, which I will walk all of you through, to oversee the club. Facilitators themselves have to be 18 or older and pass a background check if they're not an employee of the club host site. So a parent volunteer would pass a background check, and we do that totally in-house. It is not a fingerprinting kit, but it's something that we do to make sure that everybody is confirmed to be able to work with the students that they're working with. But employees of host sites, which is teachers at schools, which is probably most of you here today, are not required to go through a totally separate background check. Most importantly, facilitators don't need computer science or technical experience. I will say this endlessly, please come as you are with the experience you have. We provide all the resources and support you need to get you started. And as you start to think about who might facilitate your club, it can be helpful to know that our club facilitators, again, they come from a variety of diverse roles. So teachers, librarians, nonprofit program staff, community volunteers, like parents, local workers in CS who are currently in industry themselves, college and university students, And also, we have clubs that frequently operate with one facilitator leading curriculum, but there are other options too. You can also have one facilitator running a curriculum, or clubs where facilitators act in an advisory capacity and the club is run by members or older students themselves. So that is another option. If you've got some ambitious high schoolers, do not limit them. Feel free to give them the reins and let them run with it and act in an advising capacity, depending on what your school is able to allow. And when you start your club, you will unlock all kinds of webinar trainings, and those are evergreen. You can use them whenever you like. They are standing and available. We also have facilitation guides to support you through every element of club success. And again, you'll be paired with that regional retention specialist, Laura, who is amazing, and she'll be able to provide live help, including Girls Who Code HQ orientations and curriculum walkthroughs. And you can connect with them in the manner that is most convenient for you. So it can be by email, phone, or you can set up a virtual meeting if you have a lot more questions as well. And if you're ready to sign up for Girls Who Code, here is how you do it. And I will walk you through picture by picture, step by step momentarily as well. But you'll head over to girlswhocode.com/club supply, and you'll sign up on our Girls Who Code HQ platform. And to be sure, indicate that you're wanting to start a club. There are other programs that are available, but this gives you access to all of this curriculum that we got to preview, talk a little bit about today. And then you'll fill out and submit that Quick Clubs application. It really only takes a maximum of 7 to 10 minutes. We're going to walk through it here very quickly. And then by creating the Girls Who Code login, you already can preview our curriculum from there now that you have a login before you apply any further. And after your application is approved, this doesn't typically take more than 2 weeks, you'll gain access to our complete curriculum, resources, and training on Girls Who Code HQ. You'll also receive a welcome email with your club code. That is a unique identifier that your club members will use to affiliate with your club, because what happens on our platform is that only students are linked to you and only you are linked to your students. It's essentially private and closed that way, just for your specific community that you are building. And once you're ready, you can launch your club at any time during the year. So you can apply today and pick a wish list start date and even move your start date around. You can start in the spring. You can start over next summer too. There are tons of options. It just gives you access immediately to our curriculum, and then you'll be able to plan from there. So that's our ultimate goal. And then you'll help club members access that curriculum by enrolling them on Girls Who Code HQ when your students are ready to join you, and you'll use that club code that you received in that approval email. And that's literally all there is to it. That is all the steps, and now I will walk you through them. It is time to apply if you are interested in doing so now. You can go to girlswhocode.com/clubs apply, or you can capture this QR code on your phone to get started. And I'm going to just drop in the chat that link. Oh, Diana, wonderful. So glad you were able to renew. Hope you get access to that Clubs Fund. Renewed clubs get 500 every year. So excited that you're looking forward to signing students up. We cannot wait to host them. But I'll give everybody just another 30 seconds to kind of settle in, find the site if that's something that they're going to do right now. Catherine, great question. You can clear this with your principals first. You can also apply and get approval at a later time. There is no penalty for deciding to close down a club if for some reason you don't receive approval. It's fairly straightforward to gain it though, and you can use any or all or none of the tools that you see fit. It's just another, hopefully, tool in the toolkit. You don't have to use this as curriculum. You don't have to start a club that is official within any capacity. You can put any details that you like within your current school day. But if you are seeking specific permissions, you're welcome to apply now and even direct them to sign an agreement through the process of the application, which I'll delineate in picture format here. All right, I am hoping with that we are ready to just do a quick overview. So the first step is registering for HQ. Some of you are already familiar with this and probably can even skip this step. Renewals are a little bit different, but you can have a video as well that's on our website to walk you through that. You'll be asked for basic information like your name and birth date to create an account and get started. And then again, this is the step where if you even complete this, you'll be able to preview some of our curriculum. So it won't take you into any specific lesson plans, but this can give you a good first start. Give everybody a moment. And next, after you fill in all of this information, you're going to click the green apply button in the top right corner. And from there, you'll be able to start a new Girls Who Code club or apply to facilitate an existing club. And for almost everybody on today's call, you'll want to choose that first option, which is to start a Girls Who Code club, unless you are a facilitator who is renewing, which we can talk about offline as well. And if you have any trouble with that, we can email as well. Oh, great question, Anne. Do we have to use a school-related email or can you use your personal Gmail? You are welcome to use your personal Gmail if you feel more comfortable or if that is the primary email that you use. It's a nice option if that's not particularly popular for you to use that inbox. Rosaline, awesome. You want to apply, but you need approval of the school principal. That is no problem. You are welcome to also keep these links available to yourselves if you want to seek pre-approval before you even take the step to apply. And there is a step where you can loop in your principal or whoever the decision maker at your school or within the community that you're hoping to start this is. So next, after those steps, you'll be prompted to share a few general questions about yourself and where you plan to host your club. If you're starting a club at a school library, you'll choose that K-12 school, or if you're starting a club at a public library, you'll select that option. And if you're going to run your club at a local library, you will indicate the type of school you work at, if it's a school, such as public or private, and enter the zip code where that school is located. That school will appear in that drop-down menu for you to select. But if you're going to run your club at a public library or community center, you'll be prompted to enter the address of that site here and now. And then you might wonder exactly how you might indicate that you're part of a larger organization. We have community partnerships all over Massachusetts, all over the country. So you can see if you have a partnership affiliation with the district that is underneath that specific drop-down menu. If not, and if you plan possibly on hosting more than 2 to 3 clubs within your district, we can talk about building a partnership and I'll provide my email afterwards. We just provide extra layers of support. We can provide other forms of customized webinars for larger community partnerships as well, but that is just a really nice option for connecting a larger network. Not something to worry about today, but just something to think about for the future if this kind of programming is something that your school or your community is particularly looking for. And next, you'll be prompted to share when you plan to start a club. Knowing when you plan to have your first session just lets our team know when to check in and to make sure you have everything you need before and after that first meeting. If you're not 100% sure when that first meeting will be, that is totally fine. It can be updated if anything changes. You can push it out far into the future or you can make it very shortly from now. Either way, you will have the option to absolutely adjust it as you see fit and as the school year allows. And then the last step of the application is to sign that partnership agreement or that participation agreement. It'll be signed by an employee representative of the club's host organization, which is the vast majority of you here. If for some reason you know within your own school that you're going to need specific principal permission, even to sign a participation agreement just to look at our programming, you can actually be prompted to list the name and contact information of a signatory. Then once that application is submitted, we'll just send an email to this representative with just a note from the fact that it's on your behalf, and then a link to sign the agreement as they're able, or to talk further with you as well. And after you submit your application and it's approved, you will receive that confirmation email within 24 hours. And that's when you get that unique club code, like I mentioned. And this code will appear on your HQ homepage. And that's where you'll access all those coding tutorials, resources, webinars, everything you can imagine. And you'll also get access to that facilitator toolkit that I showed a couple screenshots of, where you'll find everything to prepare for that meeting as well. So lots of details, lots of different ways to navigate the entire platform. And then you will get to access all of these different pieces of information. You can decide which lessons work best for this year or maybe next year, or what context you want to use any element of our curriculum. And I want to just reiterate loud and clear, all of this programming is 100% free. You will not receive a bill. Your schools will not receive a bill. This is completely free, open source information for everybody who would find it useful, and we hope that you do. But thank you all so much for joining today. I know that this was fairly speedy, so we have a really lovely amount of time just for any questions. Feel free to either come off mute or drop them in the chat. Please let me know if there's anything specific that I shared with you today that you'd like to talk about. And also my email is down there. It's just michaela.berger@girlswhocode.com. I manage our relationships in all of Massachusetts, so I would absolutely love to chat with you if you have any questions or if I can support you in truly any way you can think of. But yeah, if anybody has any questions about the club's application, anything about AI or the programming that they're hoping to see, any details of what we talked about today, this is a good moment.
Michaela, so if I'm a first-year teacher at Lawrence High School, so I would have to get connected to my department head and whomever else she suggests, so that I'm doing everything however they want it to be done. So so then I can go ahead and email you and let you know, right? And then I can do this whole process of applying and all that. That's because you're saying we don't have to do the filling out of the stuff right now, correct?
Absolutely. You can fill this out at any time in the year, and you can use it at any time in the year as well. It's nice to be able to do it now if you know that you won't need permission, or if you just would like to get it out of the way and then send that permission to a principal, or if you know that you already have permission to build a club like this. So this was great for those folks, but luckily this is also being recorded. I am sending a deck to everybody with all these details too, so if you want to do it later, you can do it then. But you can always click on that link and apply for a club. And that includes everybody here. It includes any of your colleagues who might be interested. All of this information is available to you. You can start a club at any time.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. That was a great question. If you have specific questions before joining, who can you contact? That is great. You can contact me. You can also contact, here, let me put this in everybody's chat. You can contact clubs@girlswhocode.com too. These folks are experts. That is a manned email inbox, so anything you send will be responded to pretty quickly as well. Yeah, some requests for more steps on the slides. Super fair. We can support you there. Some folks are asking if there are clubs at specific locations, and there is actually a way for you to check that too. Oh, some folks also want to sign in. I would love to make sure that everybody is able to sign in. So I'm actually going to quickly drop in the chat just a link, giving everybody a few minutes. I just put it back into the main chat, hopefully for everybody to see. If you sign in here, that guarantees that I will be able to send this deck to you. But some folks asked if there were specific locations that they could check in about that already have Girls Who Code clubs. That is a great question. I'm actually going to send how you can look up specific locations, girlswhocode.com/locations. It does not necessarily mean that there is not a club where you already are. It just means that that club might have decided not to be on our website in that capacity, and that's totally fine. But it can be a useful tool to see if you want maybe a co-facilitator, or if there are any clubs that are already available for any students who might want to join if you don't have the capacity to run a club this coming fall or something like that. Just a good backup option as well. And you can always collaborate with whoever is running it in your local community and see how you can help or how they can help you. Lots of different ways to do that. But yeah, hopefully everybody can also see just above that our sign in. So that is just below, if you sign in below, adds to your email, just a little bit of information about you. I'll be able to send you the entirety of the presentation. Awesome.
Hi, I was just asking in the chat, like, when we apply, are we automatically going to be approved, or is there reasons you wouldn't get approved, or just for like planning purposes?
That is a great question, Alyssa. The chances of you getting approved are almost entirely promised. It's a non-competitive application. The approval is mostly contingent on making sure that the person who is able to facilitate will be able to do so in the capacity of wherever they are deciding to facilitate. So thinking of like a parent volunteer who is participating in a library, as long as they get approval and as long as they pass that background check, then they will certainly be approved, more or less. In cases of educators who have already bypassed the need for a background check because they're employed by their host site, you're all set and you will be able to, in all likelihood, be approved. We don't anticipate anybody here having any issues with approval whatsoever, for example.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That was a great question. And folks can also at this time feel free to come off mute. Or obviously, you are always welcome to use the chat as you've all been really fabulously doing. Will we send a certificate of participation? Laura, that is a super interesting question. We do have like a club's graduation and certificates of participation for students. I don't know if we send them to educators, but you'll have access to all of those student participations. So hopefully they'll carry right over to you if that's what you're looking for.
Michaela, the question alternately might be about for participating in this workshop. Yeah, Anne Marie will, who's on the call with us as well, she will be sending out certificates to people once the full series is complete.
Wonderful. Okay, apologies for that. You'll also get certificates for your students for clubs, specifically with Girls Who Code, but wonderfully, you are also going to receive certificates for participating in this series. So glad folks were able to join us.